Yet again, without picking a speaker, it was the second chaotic day in a row, with lawmakers shouting and interrupting speakers on the House floor. Now tonight, lawmakers like Congressman Kevin McCarthy, who wants to be a speaker, and Steve Scalise, who could be in line for the job, are in limbo. Sam Winstrom is following the latest developments in Washington.
This is the moment they have worked toward.
Dissenters, which tells you
noon tomorrow.
After 2 days of voting, Congress's new GOP majority still can't agree on who should lead them into the new year.
Well, it's Groundhog Day.
California's Kevin McCarthy still doesn't have the votes to become Speaker of the House. Despite hours of negotiations, 20 Republican holdouts are keeping McCarthy from the 218 votes he needs. They're also keeping the new Republican legislature from getting to their agenda. There could be a solution in Louisiana.
Not believe in a man who's lying to them, and it is not my job to.
People sent to all of us, not just the Republicans, not just the Democrats, but all 434, soon to be 435 of us.
Congressman Steve Scalise is a very loyal ally for McCarthy. He even nominated him for Speaker of the House. But if McCarthy concedes and removes himself from the race, Scalise would be the favorite to take his place.
If McCarthy were to drop out, I think Scalise would be the obvious choice to unite the Republican caucus.
WWL-TV political analyst Clancy Dubose says that Scalise appeals to both the hard right and moderate Republicans and could easily unite his party in the House. But after 2 days of deadlocked voting, it's still a long shot that McCarthy would give up.
It's really up to Kevin McCarthy whether Steve Scalise runs. If McCarthy just refuses to back down, then I don't expect to see Scalise's name put up.
But after a chaotic 2 days in D.C., anything could happen when the House returns on Thursday. Sam Winstrom, Eyewitness News.
For the first time since 1923, Congress didn't elect a speaker with their first vote. Voting is set to resume tomorrow morning. That'll happen at 11 our time.
What's your name today? Is it Anthony DeVolder or is it George Santos? Do you think anyone in New York actually trusts you? Do you have any idea what you're doing today? Are you pretending to look at your phone?
Are you worried about the charges in Brazil? Prosecutors
Are you going to refund the people that funded your campaign?
Are you confident your position? Are you concerned about the charges in Brazil re-upping the fraud charges against you?
Any comment for the protest happening outside of your office?
Do you have any statements to your constituents? Do you have any statements to your constituents?
Are you going to refund?
Are you confident in your position? Are you confident in your position, sir? Sir, are you confident in your position? Sir.
Any comment from the protest happening outside of your office?
Do you feel like you're qualified to serve in this Congress right now? How do you hope your constituents can trust you, even though that you've misrepresented your biography to them?
What's your response to calls for a House ethics investigation by Nick Lota?
Do you have any statements about your campaign and how you hope to govern? Do you hope to carry out your full term?
What can you say to reassure your constituents that you'll do what you said you were going to do on your campaign trail, given the concerns that have come up about statements you've made in the last few months?
Yes, I am. Mr. Santos, do you intend to serve both years of your term?
Do you plan to vote for Leader McCarthy today to be Speaker?
Can you tell us if you plan to serve both years of your term, Mr. Santos? Will you answer any question besides, will you support Leader McCarthy to be Speaker? Can you speak to any of the concerns about your biography, about what you've told folks about your background? Republican leadership told you anything, Mr. Santos?
Is there anything that you would like to clear up or explain your biography, your resume? Any questions that you...
Hey guys, I'm starting to think that lying about quite literally everything may not have been the best strategy for long-term success after all. This is Republican George Santos getting precisely the welcome he deserves as he enters Congress for the first time. Remember, this is the guy who felt zero reservations while lying about earning a degree from Baruch College in New York, about working for Citigroup and Goldman Sachs, about being Jewish, about his grandparents fleeing Jewish persecution in Europe during World War II, about losing 4 employees in the 2016 Pulse nightclub shooting, about being a landlord, about his own mother dying on 2 separate dates. George Santos has lied so much that if he told me good morning, I would immediately put on pajamas and go to bed. But while that shameless, relentless lying might have worked to get him elected, his behavior is finally catching up with him. And I would ask, at this point, was it worth it? Was getting elected at any cost really worth now being one of the most infamous members of Congress? Was it worth having 20 cameras shoved in your face and being peppered with questions about your ability to serve? Was it worth this moment right here, where George Santos sat alone in the House chamber awaiting the vote for Speaker? And I'd recommend watching this to the tune of All by Myself by Eric Carmen. I almost feel bad for the guy, and then I remember how he tweeted about his mother dying on September 11, 2001, and then tweeting about his mother dying on December 23, 2016. And suddenly, I don't really feel bad anymore. Here's an interesting tidbit. George Santos' office is number 1117, and according to Democratic Representative Don Byers, Deputy Chief of Staff, quote, "True story, when we moved in next door 6 years ago to this office, 1117 was occupied by Congressman Chris Collins, a New York Republican who was subsequently indicted, arrested, and convicted of fraud and lying to the FBI. Under any other circumstances, I would say that Office 1117 is cursed, but I think it's more likely that the Republican Party is." Consider, too, of the few Republicans who've condemned Santos, and there certainly haven't been many, they're not angry that he's a liar. They're angry that he got caught because it just reaffirms the fact that so many people within the GOP are incapable of telling the truth. The problem with Santos isn't that he's some aberration in that party. The actual problem is that he's too obvious of a reflection of exactly what that party represents. Republicans are pissed off that he makes it too easy to show what the GOP really is. Now, one notable question that George Santos was asked about was regarding a Brazilian fraud case. Back in 2008, Santos was involved in an incident wherein he spent nearly $700 using a stolen checkbook and a false name in a Brazilian city just outside of Rio de Janeiro. Santos then admitted the fraud to the shop owner in 2009, writing on a Brazilian social media site, "I know I screwed up, but I want to pay." The next year, he and his mother told the police that he had stolen the checkbook of a man his mother used to work for and then used it to make fraudulent purchases. A Brazilian judge approved the charge in September 2011, but Santos fled to the United States within the next month. The case was ultimately suspended because Brazilian authorities were unable to locate him. But given Santos' newfound public persona, his whereabouts don't seem to be an issue anymore. According to the Rio de Janeiro prosecutor's office, a formal request will be made to the Department of Justice to notify him of the charges, after which the case will proceed with or without him. If found guilty, Santos could receive up to 5 years in prison plus a fine. And for those asking if the US and Brazil have an extradition treaty, don't be ridiculous, it'll never come to that. But in case it does, the answer is yes, an extradition treaty between the US and Brazil was signed in 1961. Just saying. Although with that said, I don't think that things are going to be much better for Santos on the domestic front. Federal prosecutors have also begun looking into George Santos' finances right here in the United States. It's been widely reported that Santos was behind on paying his own rent, and yet somehow he also managed to loan his own congressional campaign $705,000 between 2020 and 2022. So the question now becomes, where did that money come from, and are we looking at a campaign finance violation? And of course, we should probably give Santos the benefit of the doubt, considering it's not like he's lied about literally everything else, right? So look, will George Santos have the strength to carry on every day like this? Will he even be able to finish out his first term? Who knows? But one thing is certain. If anyone can do it, it's George Santos, the first man to walk on the moon. George Santos, who climbed to the top of Everest twice. George Santos, who led the Allied powers to victory in World War II. George Santos, who discovered a cure for cancer. George Santos, the first man to walk across all 7 continents. George Santos, the first... Before you go, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, please please make sure to subscribe to my channel. You can click the thumbnail right here on this screen. And if you want to support my work even further, the best way is to subscribe to my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen. There you can check out my interviews with major players in the world of politics, including President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Katie Porter, Jamie Raskin, and so many more. Plus other interviews that live exclusively on the podcast. That link is also right here on this screen, or just search No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, now we've got my good friend and longtime guest, Alex Michelson. He is the anchor for Fox LA and the host of statewide political show in California, The Issue Is. Alex, thanks for joining.
Brian, it is good to be with you. Some behind-the-scenes things for people that may be watching this on video. Brian told me that this was going to be an audio-only thing, and then about 5 minutes ago said that it wasn't. So I'm on vacation this week. I haven't shaved in days. I look like a mountain man, but out of respect to Brian, I tried to throw on a suit, but then wearing sweatpants underneath. So I'm kind of a mess. I hope you like the new look. I'll be back to the other look the next time we talk, but it's a different version as we wrap up the year.
Yeah, well, join the club when it comes to suit on the top, sweatpants on the bottom. So, so let's start here with kind of a crazy one, and that is George Santos, this Republican who's been caught lying about everything.
Everything.
Do you realize how much you have to lie